Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the Good Jobs Challenge webinar today. My name is Tyrone Hampton. I am the Director of Workforce Partnerships at PhilaWorks. And on behalf of the Good Jobs Challenge grant team in Philadelphia, we want to say a huge thank you to you all for joining us today and welcome. We're really excited to share information with you all about the Good Jobs Challenge work that's happening in Philadelphia. And we're hopeful, we know we can't see all of your faces, but we're hoping that you will be able to feel some of our energy and our excitement about all of the Good Jobs Challenge work happening in Philadelphia. And if you all are familiar with our fearless leader, President and CEO, Patrick Clancy, he would say a woohoo. So I want to share some of that excitement and some of his energy in this meeting as well. Next slide, please. Thank you, David. So I'll share an overview of the agenda and our run-up show today. We're going to start with intros of some of the key players and some of the key staff who will help support and manage the Good Jobs Challenge work, an overview of the Good Jobs Challenge and the application process, update on the coordinated PA workforce development system, industry data, the three-phase approach process to the Good Jobs Challenge work and the timeline, as well as detailed information and presentations from our three backbone organizations, partnership opportunities, next steps, and ending the presentation and webinar with questions and answers. And some quick housekeeping rules before I forget. This meeting is being recorded. And if you have any questions and comments, please enter all of the questions and comments into the chat, and we will do our best at the end of the presentation to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. We also are developing an FAQ document. In addition to that, we are sharing the slide deck. So you should be good to go. If you miss anything between the recording, the FAQ document, and the sharing of materials, you should be good to go in terms of documenting notes and anything you may have missed. Next, I'll kick it over to Patricia Blumenauer from PhilaWorks to do intros for the presenters. And these, again, are some of the key staff who will help support this work in Philadelphia.
Good morning, everyone. I am Patricia Blumenauer, the Vice President of Operations and Data at PhilaWorks, and I'm going to pass it. You guys have already met Ty, so I'll pass it off to Kate.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kate Garazzo, and I'm the Executive Director of the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. Shanique? There you go.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Shanique Banks. I am the Director of Development and Workforce Initiatives for the Philadelphia Energy Authority.
Good morning, I'm Tony Wigglesworth, Director of the Philadelphia Area Labor Management Committee.
All right, next slide. So for those of you who are new to the Good Jobs work, just kind of wanting to learn about this, or for those of you that were aware of the opportunity and the grant writing, but didn't, have as much detail, we wanted to do a quick overview of what the opportunity was, how it was brought to us from the EDA, and talk a little bit about the application process and how we got to where we are today. So that's what I'll be doing right now. So for those of you that were not aware, the EDA allocated about $500 million to the Good Jobs Challenge, which was a part of the American Rescue Plan Act. And the idea was to build and enhance and strengthen systems and partnerships to bring together employers and workforce providers, training providers, to connect workers with good jobs. So the $5 million was allocated to build collaborative skills training systems, to enhance programs, and to really put a focus on efforts to reach historically underserved populations in areas that might not be typically served by workforce dollars or other programs. So some specific areas that the EDA was looking for folks to focus on included communities of color, women, and other groups that might be facing labor market barriers, such as people with disabilities, disconnected youth, individuals in recovery, those with justice involvement or past criminal records, and those that might be receiving public benefits such as SNAP or TANF or WIC. Next slide, please. So PhilaWorks partnered with PIDC in Philadelphia, and then the workforce boards and economic organizations from the 6-county area that included us in Philadelphia, Berks County, Bucks County, Chester County, Delaware County, and Montgomery County, and kind of put together this working group to tackle this challenge. We had support from local elected officials such as Governor Wolf, Congresswoman Scanlon, Congressman Evans, and Senator Casey. We were also supported by the Southeast Equity and Economy Committee, which was led for us by Just Strategies. And they helped us to focus on really bringing an equity lens to our application, but also to the work moving forward. We were supported by the City of Philadelphia with a sign-on by the mayor and the Department of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce of Greater Philadelphia was also a major player in the application. The backbone organizations who you will get to hear a lot about today. And then we had some serious data support from McKinsey, along with foundation support from the William Penn Foundation and the Knight Foundation. And then, of course, we could not have done this without the employers and community organizations. Lots of the community organizations are likely on the call today. So we thank you very much for your support. And a major part of this grant application required employer support, so employer letters, and support from community organizations, because providing individuals with support to get through training is a big part of success in this grant. Next slide, please. So the what you'll see here are the graphics from the actual EDA from the application that sort of set the stage for what building this regional workforce training system would look like. So to the left, you'll see a little, it looks kind of like an org chart with a system lead and then sectoral partnerships underneath of that system lead. And that's the model that we moved forward with for this application. So the EDA was asking for systems that create and support training programs that were, so they use the word inspired, and I would say we even would make that a little stronger by saying driven by employer needs in collaboration with partnerships. So the idea is that it's not just an employer, it's not just a workforce training provider, it's not just an organization saying, hey, this is what folks need. It's that all of them are coming together to look kind of like that diagram on the right, with the backbone organization in the middle, with all of these supports surrounding them to ensure success for the individuals going through the programs, and for the employers on the back end. Next slide, please. So we came together as that group, and we built a plan, to design and scale a coordinated Southeastern PA workforce development system. And the idea was that we would develop and launch training programs to build regional workforce skills within targeted growth industries, which I will get into in a moment. The coordinated Southeast PA system is proposing to get at least 3,000 people connected to good jobs over the next 3 years, accelerating equitable recovery, driving economic growth, and disrupting the chronic multi-generational poverty across the region. Next slide. So in order to do this and kind of narrow in on those specific industries, we had to look at the data. So as I mentioned, McKinsey came in to help us out here. We at PhilaWorks also have a recovery occupation strategy that we put into play here as well. So we kind of took those two things together and worked with that larger group to narrow down to 3 industries. The data did show us that healthcare, life sciences, and education were some of the more the industries that showed some potential. They also showed us that energy and infrastructure would be industries that will continue to have potential, because we'll see new federal investments that will drive growth and will drive consortia of education industries. The data showed us that IT and administration were some fields that cut across sectors. So while IT and administration might be strong on their own, they're stronger, as we were seeing it, within healthcare, within life sciences, within education. So didn't seem like the right sectors for us to focus on. And then we took all of this information, and McKinsey helped us to rate these occupations within the industries in a couple of ways. So by the undersupply of talent, by the current and projected job openings, by the educational requirements. So what we looked at there was what were lower barriers in terms of educational requirements. We didn't want all of these jobs to be bachelor's degree and higher, to putting a bigger barrier for folks to get through. We looked at what there were opportunities, what the opportunities were for career advancement, and where we could really make an impact with racial equity and inclusion. So based on all of those pieces of information, along with what we knew about our partners, the quality of training programs in Southeast Pennsylvania that we have, and the employer partners that we have. So where did we actually already have some really good synergy with employer partners? We were able to come to the conclusion that we wanted to focus on healthcare and life sciences, energy with the focus on clean and green energy, and infrastructure. So that's how we got to where we are today. Next slide. As you all know, why we're here today is because we were an awardee. For those of you that are not aware, there were over 500 applications that were submitted. 32 awardees were made across the country, so we're one of 32. We are super excited about that. There was a total of 500 million awarded across the country, with just under 23 million awarded to us as a region. And as a bigger picture, the EDA was pointing out that all of the awardees will aim to power regional competitiveness and inclusive growth economy, expand equitable job opportunities, and really hit those underserved populations and communities, build worker-centered and employer-led training systems, which is, what we're all about here, and really integrate diverse local stakeholders into the workforce training partnerships, which is, again, one of the reasons that we're talking with you all today. Next slide. So the targeted growth industries that are connected with each of the backbone organizations, which we'll dive into in a moment here, are listed on your screen. So the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative will be covering healthcare and life sciences. Philadelphia Energy Authority will be covering the energy sector, and PALM will be working on the infrastructure sector. The idea is that there will be, if you can go to the next slide, a three-phased approach to this work. So this is sort of a high-level timeline of the work. We were able to add some planning time into this work, which is really exciting for us. It's not something that always comes with grants. So you'll see there are system development, program design, and program implementation phases allowed. Each of the groups, each of the backbone organizations will be on slightly different timelines based upon where the stages of their work are, but we're all going to be starting out in that first phase, that system development phase. So we'll be supporting the backbone organizations with establishing this system and building the sectoral partnerships. Once that is established, we'll be able to tell the EDA, okay, we've done that. They'll approve us to move on to the next section. And the funds will be delivered in stages as we complete those milestones. From there, we'll be able to move into the detailed program design. So we'll work together to develop the model, the curriculum, secure those employer commitments that we've already begun to secure, and then begin that the recruitment plan to get outreach to the workers that we want to see engaged in the program. And then the remainder of the time will be spent recruiting, delivering the programs, providing that wraparound service, and getting folks into jobs. Next slide, I think we're going to kick it over to Ty.
Thank you, Patricia. Philadelphia Works role, we're serving as the system lead entity within the Good Job Challenge work. And what that means is Philadelphia Works is responsible for overseeing the planning, the implementation, and evaluation of all of this work in collaboration with various regional partners and stakeholders. Just to give you some quick background on Philadelphia Works and who we are, Philadelphia Works is the local workforce board in Philadelphia, connecting folks to employment and training opportunities. A part of our mission is developing smart workforce solutions that helps respond to business needs in the city, increases career pathways, strengthens career pathways rather, and helps build economic mobility for Philadelphia residents. In addition to that, we also oversee a thriving and very large PA Career Philadelphia workforce and youth system. Next slide, please. Some of our other key responsibilities as the system lead entity include prioritizing equity principles through all phases of the implementation process, assessing community needs to address barriers to employment, ensuring our regional pool of stakeholders is inclusive of employers, various workforce partners, education and training providers, the labor union, and various thought partners that will all contribute to the success of this work. Sorry, was I on mute? Oh,
You're good.
Another responsibility for Philadelphia Works is aligning programming and implementation planning to meet employer needs and ensuring employment outcomes meet baseline metrics related to job quality and family sustaining wages. We're also responsible for grant management and compliance. And lastly, we're responsible for examining and providing operational capacity, again, to drive that impact and success that we want to have as a region with the Good Jobs Challenge work. And next, I'll move it to Kate at WIPSI.
Thank you. You can go right to the next slide there, David. Thank you. So I am Kate with the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. We are the backbone organization for healthcare and life sciences. We have extensive experience in the healthcare sector and are really beginning to do training programs with our life science partners. However, we've been working in that space for several years now. This screen just shows a little bit of who we've been working with in those two sectors in Philadelphia. We can also add now Jefferson. We just launched a program with them as well, Jefferson Health. And as you can see, our experience is mostly with large scale employers. That's where our expertise lies. Our goal in working with partners both in Philadelphia and in the region is to activate these large scale employers to hire, especially in healthcare and life sciences. There's a lot of opportunity in these larger employers. We're interested in learning from our partners that work on a smaller scale as well. But this is the expertise that we're bringing to the table in terms of employer relationship. Next slide, David. Thank you. We work strategically with different types of partners currently and are excited to use the Good Jobs Challenge to expand what that means. So our team at the Skills Initiative has managed partnerships across many different types of organizations. On the right of the screen is a snapshot of some of those partners, I think all of whom are represented here in one way or another. Our approach is focusing on what each partner is uniquely positioned to deliver. We're not in the reinventing the wheel kind of space. We're in activating and leveraging all of the great work that individual partners can do to present a complete solution to an employer with single or minimal points of contact from a coordinated system. By linking multiple partners, we're able to leverage more funding, we're able to access a more holistic and inclusive recruiting and training pool, and our onboarding supports for job seekers moving into employment can be more robust. And all of that leads to a much higher success rate, meaning many more folks getting through the program, many more folks attaching to that work, and many more folks reaching different types of retention stages. Next slide. Thank you. This is the very high level, but this is it. This is how the Skills Initiative typically works in terms of activating our training programs. We do a deep job role analysis with the employer partner. This can take 6 months. This can take 3 years. This really varies. Based on that information, we create a customized recruitment strategy, which can include different types of assessments based on different needs that an employer or job role is looking for. And we select applicants based on their match to an employer. That information from the job role analysis is also utilized in step 3 to create a customized professional development curriculum. This can include work with our strategic partners for different types of training, credentials, or education that other folks specialize in. Step 4 is not a nice to have, is an absolute requirement in terms of our program design, and that's interviews with employer partners. So as we all know, we wish we could ask employers to guarantee hires, but that's just not something that we could ever do. But we ask our employers to guarantee interviews and to have enough open job roles for everyone they'd be interviewing. So that is step 4. Then after folks are hired, we provide ongoing onboarding support for folks that are brought into that employer partner. That can be taking on some of the administrative burden for the employer, also being a benefit to them. It can also be providing coaching and support. And did you check your email for every job seeker that's going through that onboarding process as well? And then folks are welcome into our alumni network that provides ongoing job opportunities and professional coaching. If folks are not offered jobs through the employer partner that particular program was designed for, our team works with them to get them placed immediately, but within 3 months at another job of their choosing. And then step 6 is data collection. That's going to, what that data is for the Good Jobs Challenge will be determined by the Good Jobs Challenge. But the idea of ongoing data collection from both the employer and from the former participant, the alumni, is an integral part of our work. And then all of that information informs going back to step 1 again. So that's a pretty straightforward process. We're looking to support organizations that want to implement this process, but we're also looking to work with organizations that can add to this process or have different supports or different avenues for entry into this process. So yeah, next slide, David. Thank you. Here's a small example of a partnership that we've had with Penn Medicine over the past several years. We've run 7 different cohorts with them, 7 different programs with them for 2 different types of roles. One is a lab assistant and one is like an access kind of service role, like the folks that you either talk to on the phone or see when you go into the doctor's office. Penn Medicine has hired 116 graduates from those 7 programs, which is a 95% placement rate for us. And there's an $18.66 average starting wage. I think we just had another group get hired, so there's kind of some more information here, but this is the type of job level, this is the type of volume, this is the type of job role that the Skills Initiative specializes in. Other organizations have access to different types of roles, different types of employers. Other organizations have different credentialing opportunities or education opportunities. So we're looking to leverage our experience. This is just a snapshot of one version of that, alongside other partners regionally and in the city, to create even more opportunity and more access, and ideally higher average starting wages as well. Next slide, please, David. Oh, sorry. You can just keep going. Yeah, sorry. Animations. Great. So, oh, there we go. We did it. So this is our vision for the Good Jobs Challenge. It's pretty simple at this point, right? Because we haven't had the opportunity to connect with different collaborators across the region yet. But the vision is that we kind of bring this cohort-based training model further into the counties, further into the city for healthcare and life sciences. The designing an opportunity with an employer that has moderate to high volume job role needs and is willing to have job openings for every participant. We want these to turn into real jobs for every person that's sitting in the seat. We want there to be a real opportunity for them to actually have that job role at the conclusion of their training. Bringing truly customized solutions, not just doing the same thing over and over again, but really tailoring whatever that education and training is to the employer. Creating very targeted recruitments, not just for the employer's needs, but for the demographics of the Good Jobs Challenge is really affording us the opportunity to dive into. And to leverage employer connections across the region and to kind of coordinate the employers to get each other to really hire in this manner. Next slide, David. So this is a slightly more blown out version of the slide that Patricia shared a little bit earlier. This is the skills initiative's individualized timeline. As Patricia mentioned, each backbone has a slightly different timeline. This is the one for the skills initiative in the healthcare and life sciences sector. So system development is a 3-month process. In there, you see we'll be developing employer-driven training models, which like check, right? We'll kind of be working with other partners to understand how they approach that. Develop the processes needed to do that job role analysis within different organizations, and then translate the skills that we find the employers need into effective training to employment models. That's a 3-month process that's shortened for the skills initiative because it's something that we are very well versed in and are able to kind of share and take in more information. Phase 2 is 9 months. That's program design. That's really working with employers regionally to identify the in-demand roles that they have based both on their hiring needs, but also deep market analysis that we're able to do internally and like leverage the team at PhilaWorks and all of their information to do as well. Identify those skills needs from those employers for those selected roles, develop training models in response to those particular roles, figure out which training providers already exist in our region and how those training providers can be scaled if they want to be scaled, or how to link and connect folks that are either not interested or not able to scale, secure employer commitments to hire, and I can't read the last one, develop a plan to partner. That might just be all it says, but really kind of put together that plan for all of the connected providers, education institutions, wraparound services, et cetera, to get ready to implement. And then we have 2 whole years to do everything we just said we were going to do. Really recruiting the underserved and underemployed workers in our region, identifying who they are and creating customized targeted recruitment strategies, deliver the skills trainings that we identified and designed in phase 1 and 2, provide wraparound services to workers to ensure that they're able to successfully connect to and stay in their selected job roles, and deliver technical assistance for employers to encourage skills-based hiring practices. So each one of those bullet points could be its own presentation, but this is just that high level, our goals for each phase. Okay, good, I was done. Great. So that was our presentation. I think we're doing Q&A both like in the chat and then at the end. Is that correct, Tyrone?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes. If they have any questions,
great.
please submit them in the chat.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Shanique Banks, again, Director of Development and Workforce Initiatives at the Philadelphia Energy Authority. Next slide, please. Yes, so who are we? We are a PEA, is an independent municipal authority established in 2010 to really support the city of Philadelphia on energy affordability, sustainability. In 2016, under the leadership of City Council President Darrell Clark, PEA launched the Philadelphia Energy Campaign, a $1 billion investment in the clean energy and energy efficiency project for over 10 years to create 10,000 jobs. So the Good Job Challenge was just something that we could not say no to, because it really fed into our desire to create these clean energy jobs. Next slide, please. What do? We use energy as a tool for impact, for economic development, projects that move the needle on carbon reduction, creating jobs, targeting Philadelphia, but really becoming a statewide, even a national model in this space, alleviating poverty, reducing the energy burden for Philadelphians, and improving public health. Next slide, please. Current conditions. Why are we here? The growth in the energy industry is outpacing the skilled workforce needed to meet the demands of the employers. Prior to COVID, the clean energy industry grew at an annual rate of 4 to 7% faster than the overall state labor market. By the end of 2019, energy jobs account for 2% more than all other jobs combined, really creating this demand for a skilled labor workforce. Most solar developers were training entry-level and employees from scratch, trying to create their own training model. And it was difficult, it was expensive, and there's gaps still exist, and there was a lag in diversity. Next slide, please. The Philadelphia model. We pair workforce programs with projects. So our green retrofit installer training initiative is an on-ramp to our built to last total home restorative home program. We link deep development opportunities with supports that provide in-demand skills for a growing labor market. What does that mean? We pour a lot of resources in small cohorts. We keep volume small, we have large investment, and this provides for an in-demand skill for a growing labor market. And we prioritize equity in our programs. We start with the most marginalized populations in the city, the women, people of Black and Brown people, folks re-entering the workforce, and young people who have been disconnected from the workforce for various reasons. These populations are targeted to participate and benefit from this clean energy transition. Next slide, please. Our programs, again, our model, low volume, high touch, deep individual skill development. The first model is the Bright Solar Future CTE program. This is the first of its kind, 1,080-hour, 3-year CTE program currently being operated at Frankfurt High School in Philadelphia. It has a state-of-the-art lab built. We began our 4th class this September and launched a solar summer program. What is the impact of this program? Well, it creates these on-ramps for young Philadelphians to enter the clean energy workforce, expanding marginalized communities' understandings of the benefit of clean energy, and developing the next generation of leaders. Bright Solar Future Op-Y, that is our out-of-school adult training program. And it's an accelerated 680-hour solar installer training program. It targets adults 18 to 30. We've launched a total of 3 cohorts over the last 2.5 years, 47 participants. Folks leave with knapsacks, which is like the gold standard in solar energy installation, their OSHA certification. All participants are placed onto paid internships and are worked with 1 year following the internships, including placement into jobs. What is the impact of this? Well, we're closing the wealth gap with a program that provides living wages and potential for increased earnings, right? We're targeting the most population with direct links to the industry employers, and immediately feeling the need for a growing industry in the clean energy sector. Our green retrofit immersive training program is, again, it's an 18-week construction trade training program. We launched our second cohort in May of this year. They completed this, the second cohort completed this past September on the 9th. They had their graduation. The average wage is about $15 an hour from the first cohort. We have seen that wage increase to up to $19 an hour. What does the impact of this project? It provides a skilled workforce for the labor demand created through PA's Built to Last project, pathways to entrepreneurship, and industry certifications that are scalable and portable. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The Good Job Challenge. We're going to expand this model and success of it through the Good Job Challenges. Our workforce initiatives utilizes the collective impact model. And this is the approach that attempts to solve complex problems collaboratively by leveraging the expertise of multiple institutions. And really what that means is that we are from where we sit, we have done a great job of being the backbone organization, this coordinating organization that sits at a place where we can bring all of the city's industry leaders and expertise and specific sectors to come and work or be a part of our project. We facilitate this collaborative model by providing direction, a shared vision, technical support, thought leadership with expertise and resources to partners to create equitable and a diverse workforce. And this is what we're really going to roll out throughout the 6 counties identified, continuing to build our presence in Philadelphia and share. I'm calling it our solar programs in a box, really portable projects that we can take and share with other counties and help them stand up these projects. Engage employers and industry representatives, education and training, and community-based organizations. Emphasizes entities that reflect and support the professional development priorities, populations to participate in the collective impact model. Really, again, that's really looking for those experts, understanding our population, some of the barriers that we face, and with the goal of connecting existing demand generating programs and direct trainees to an employer pipeline with traditional workforce development organizations that can provide those wraparound services, supports to ensure long-term workplace and post-job placement. And here to the left is one of our scholars, Isaiah Smith, who currently finished our Bright Solar Future Op-Y program and is working for Solar States, one of our trusted partners. Next slide, please. Adopting models that work locally, globally, and across sectors to application scale that have real impact on community. PEA aims to execute and support the launch of at least 4 training cohorts of 15 students for each county during the 36-month period. PA will provide technical support, seed funding, industry expertise, toolkits, and training curriculums for participating institutions. We expect a 70% completion rate with at least a 60% of those who complete being placed directly into industry-related job. And our goal overall outside of Philadelphia is to have 252 or 70% of the young people enroll into the program and complete it and place 60% into industry relevant employment. Next slide. And a spotlight on a partner, IBEW, Local 98, comes in, and this is really our model, again, having those experts come in, provide hands-on training, demonstrations, and we are going to roll this model out across the counties. Next and final slide. Here's our contact information. Emily Shapira is our president and CEO. Again, I am director of development and workforce initiatives, and I look forward to connecting with you on elevating our profile and supporting your work in this space. Thank you.
My name is Tony Wigglesworth. I am the director of the Philadelphia Area Labor Management Committee. We are the third backbone organization involved in this initiative. A couple of words about PALM and its history. The Philadelphia Area Labor Management Committee has been in Philadelphia since 1984, dedicated to joint activities between management and labor. One of the significant programs of the Philadelphia Area Labor Management Committee is its Built Right program, which is involved in the construction industry, started in 1985. We've concluded about $70 billion worth of construction under Built Right. Most of the major projects in and around Philadelphia have been Built Right projects, including both Comcast centers, the Eagles and the Phillies stadiums, and most recently, the Patient Pavilion with Penn Medicine in West Philadelphia, and the new police headquarters on North Broad Street. With the hospital pavilion, we initiated a new collaborative process to increase inclusion and diversity on that project. Partners in that included Penn Medicine, the construction manager, LF Driscoll, the General Building Contractors Association, Philadelphia Works, and ourselves. And the idea was to use the project to generate a process for increasing pre-apprenticeship activity into our apprenticeship programs. It was a very hands-on process. It involved our Built Right process being implemented on the project. As a result, between 75 and 100 young people were put into apprenticeships. And our intention with the Good Jobs Challenge is to take that model and expand it. We're partnering with local owners, contractors, contractor associations, and building trade unions in Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. And our approach will be to identify and partner with pre-apprenticeship activities that are registered with the Department of Labor and Industries pre-apprenticeship program, and to move those individuals into apprenticeship activities, partnering with our local building trades unions. It's a model that we know works. It will have Built Right involved on site in a regular communication process that's transparent, that involves the owner, the contractor associations, and our building trades unions. In terms of our timeline, since we have a model that requires both vertical as well as geographic expansion, we will be initiating partnership discussions, and in fact already have, targeting 10 to 12 local owners encompassing $10 billion worth of construction over the next 5 years. Those owners have committed, first of all, to sharing their projected staffing requirements with the building trades unions. And second of all, they've committed to improving inclusion and diversity on their projects. We're working with local associations and also with local unions. We will be conducting some strategy/caucus activities in the months of October through first quarter of 2023, with a program rollout anticipated for February to March of 2023. We expect that we will have an 18-month run of our pre-apprenticeship apprenticeship activity. And then what we'll do is, after that 18 months, we will take a look at it. We will look at best practice. We will also begin to look at sustainability outside of this grant activity and use the last 12 months to refine the process but also to improve community acceptance of the activity and find sustenance in the local community. Most of the work early on will be done by our core staff who are on this call, myself, Fran Patricione, and Gert Anthony. You may be hearing from them. I also would note that we have executed a partnership agreement with the School District of Philadelphia for 4 years. Within that partnership agreement, our building trades apprenticeship programs will be working with the school district's career and technical education departments to actually influence the in-school education experience in construction and associated careers, with an eye towards having the School District of Philadelphia certified as an official pre-apprenticeship program by the Commonwealth. We intend to extend that nature of partnership to the surrounding counties as a result of our activities with this grant. And that concludes my comments, and I assume, Patricia, that I turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Excuse me. Thanks, Tony. So we wanted to dive a little bit into the opportunities for partnership, which is why a lot of you are here today. And there are a number of ways in which we'll be looking to partner with folks throughout this grant period. And there will be opportunities along the way to become engaged in different ways. So we will definitely find a need for contracted providers and consultants that will have to be competitively procured as anything with a federal funding basis would normally. And some spaces where you guys will see some RFPs come out from us might be for consultants in a variety of different areas. So there's a number of topic areas as we dive into planning that we might need some consulting assistance on. Ultimately, some training providers obviously we'll need here. So you'll see some RFPs go out for that. And then for community-based organizations to support the wraparound services. So a big piece of this is, as I mentioned earlier, supporting individuals through the training to ensure that they make it to completion and connect with a job at the back end. And in order to do that, we need to work with community-based organizations that can really help to support folks, particularly in communities where we might not, have connections currently, and to the points of everyone so far wanting to support this and sustain this throughout the region, so outside of Philadelphia area, and really getting more presence in the counties. So that those RFPs will be posted through the Philadelphia Works website on our procurement page, and most of those will not come right away. So we'll be in the planning stages, as we talked about, like all different kind of timelines for that. But anywhere from the first 3 months to 1 year will be for planning, depending upon the backbone organization. So there might be smaller consultant type RFPs that come out in the near future, but the more in-depth training provider and community-based organization RFPs will come later. You guys are all on a mailing list now, so you will receive notification about that, but that will also always be on the Philadelphia Works website. Another space where we will need help of partners like you is in thought partnership. So if you are, the next next four things that I'll talk about wouldn't necessarily result in contracts, but there are ways in which you as a stakeholder in the Southeast Pennsylvania region can become involved. So we do need thought partners. We need ideas. We need, we'll need to bounce things off of folks. We'll be hosting community meetings, feedback sessions, and webinars like this that will allow folks to give us feedback to help guide the work to ensure we're meeting the needs of all communities. We'll also look to do some in-person things where we can. So as that comes out, again, you guys will all receive information about that. You can be a community champion. So as we start, particularly as we start to roll out programming, we'll need folks on the ground that tell potential participants, hey, this is a thing, it's a good fit for you, you should become a part of this. We will need referral partners. So do you work with job seekers or potential job seekers or individuals who might be interested in training? You know, we will be looking for folks that will act as referral partners to help with our recruitment for programming. And lastly, of course, employer partners. If you are an employer or you are familiar with an employer who is in one of the 3 sectors that has not yet engaged with us, that is interested in becoming engaged, please connect them with us. And we'll make sure everyone has the Good Jobs Challenge email at the end to ensure that you know where to send people. Next slide. So what's next? We're in the process of finishing up our contracting pieces and ensuring we have all of our ducks in a row with the EDA. We actually have our first one-on-one with them tomorrow. So following that meeting, we'll be able to complete our contracts with the backbone organizations. So we'll be able to kind of take those next steps there, begin to kick off our internal planning phase with each backbone organization, and importantly, finalize and communicate the governance structure for the coordinated Southeastern PA workforce development system, which is a requirement of the grant, but it's also just really important as we talk through decision making and kind of driving the work. Having that governance structure in place will be really important for us. And lastly, we'll have at least quarterly communication via email to this group and any others that are interested in being filled in on the progress. And then, as I mentioned, we'll include invitations to planning and feedback sessions as we move along into the different phases. Okay, next slide. All right, so as you guys have all been doing a great job popping questions into the Q&A feature, so please continue to do that. We had some questions come in advance that I'm going to address. I'm going to address a couple of questions that I tagged in the chat to be addressed during this time, but please keep the questions coming. As Ty mentioned in the beginning, if we are not sure of an answer, we won't answer you today, but we will get an answer out in the FAQ document that will follow. So if we skip you, it's not because we're ignoring you, it's because we don't have your answer and we want to be accurate in our responses. And that's also why we're having folks do all written questions, so we make sure we have your question clearly documented. And then we'll continue to answer questions as they pop up. And we will have an email address on the following screen after this, where you can continue submitting questions after this session. So one of the questions we had prior to this, and it came up again in the chat, was when will phase 1 start? So the answer to that question is as soon as we have our kind of thumbs up go ahead from the EDA. We're sort of in the pre-planning phase with EDA right now. Once we've got all of those pieces in place, we'll be able to do those internal kickoff meetings with each individual backbone organization and then truly dig into the work. However, each of the backbone organizations has already sort of started these because it's the work that they're doing. So that's the reason that they were brought in as partners for this grant. They're ready to rock and roll as soon as we give the go ahead. So we will definitely, be kicking off shortly, and we can again communicate back with you all when we're doing that. There was a question about whether incumbent workers would be eligible for this, and our answer is we think so. One of the things we're going to clear up with the EDA is eligibility, but one of our goals and one of the things we talked a bit about in our application was about creating true pipelines and true career paths. So looking at moving folks from lower pay jobs into higher pay jobs. So that is definitely one of our goals here. So it is our intention to serve incumbent workers too, to get them into higher paying jobs. But, you know, we'll get some more information out, you know, as soon as we know that. Okay, I'm going to look at some of these questions that are coming in. Could thought partners be tapped to help craft RFPs to identify and support needs? Absolutely. That is something that would be super helpful. So if there is a specific area of expertise that you have that you think might be helpful as it relates to an RFP, please feel free to reach out to the Good Jobs Challenge email. Is one of the targeted populations immigrant populations? So that's a great question. And one of the things that, so the answer would be yes. So that's absolutely a population that would be considered underserved by the definition that the EDA gave. But I also should have mentioned and had it in my notes and failed to mention one of the other spaces where we would likely see an RFP go out would be around adult basic education. So that could also include ESL and possibly like integrating English as a second language or ABA into training programs. So that is something that would be for sure addressed. So a number of the other questions are questions that would be to be determined. So we'll go ahead and say that we will get back to you guys on how IT programs such as Tech Impact might be able to participate. So how will the grant money be allocated and spent? Will money be allocated for workforce apprenticeship or only for the development of programs? So the answer to that is both, but I don't have more details to that at this point. It's not just for program development. It also will be utilized for program implementation, and the specifics around that would be determined during the planning phases. How will the Good Jobs Challenge be aligned with services offered through the PA Career Link centers? That will absolutely be something that we tackle in planning. Charles, thanks for that question. So project updates for now will be posted on the PhilaWorks website. We are looking to lift up a Good Jobs Challenge PHL website. So look for that in the future, but for now, we'll keep folks posted via the Philadelphia Works website and social media and through email updates. We'll put the Good Jobs Challenge email up on the screen in a moment. And then, okay, so the question around defining underserved individuals and communities. So there's sort of a broad answer that we've given so far, some specific populations that EDA would like us to focus on. But the other, I think, more thoughtful answer to that is we really want to use the data around this. So we are doing some research now around where there is inequity in some of these fields and how might we be looking to connect certain individuals or communities to these opportunities. So while the sort of like bullets that we went through earlier might be the bigger picture, we also want to get a little more thoughtful around getting more specific around that as we move forward, not only with each sector, but also with the different communities. We'll also rely on leaders and community-based organizations to help us to understand what the needs are of the individual communities. How will metrics and grant evaluation be reported to the EDA? That's a great question. We don't know that yet. So that's one of our big questions for the EDA when we meet with them tomorrow, is to talk through talk through the data pieces, and that's something that, again, we want to be able to share with folks as we move along, and so we'll look to have a transparent plan around sharing that as well. Will any dollars be used to develop welcoming and just workplaces regarding staff retention and upward mobility? That's a great question. And as of right now, that wasn't necessarily a focus of this project by the EDA, but something that I think we can look at within each of the planning phases to see if there is a space for that. But there definitely is, I think, a space for us to look for other funds to focus on that alongside of this work. Will there be any contracts issued to look at long-term outcomes for participants? I think that kind of depends on what the EDA is looking for in terms of data collection and outcomes reporting. This is a great question that I love, and we talked a bit about as a group. So what are the current plans around raising additional leverage / funds? The initial planning is we need a plan, right? So we know that this is something that we'll need to do. We've got some dollars that each of the organizations already have in place through their normal funding structures that would allow us some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Just like natural leveraging that will end up happening. But we do plan to host either a webinar or a community conversation around how we might go after funds together. So how might we partner to access additional funds to enhance this work? So please look out for some communication from us on that, because it's something that we definitely see as a need, and we would love to do that together with partners. What's the biggest concern / challenge for your team currently? I don't know, does anyone else want to take a shot at answering that question? I think that's a great question, and probably each of us has a paragraph we could give on that.
I can start first, Patricia. I think one of the biggest challenges that is consciously on my mind is finding talent to help with and support all this work. So we're all in the stages of hiring staff. So I think that is a huge challenge for us all to find appropriate staff who can manage and support some of this workforce.
I can share too. I echo what Ty shared. And I guess mine is a little more existential. I see this as a unique opportunity for our region to really coordinate systems to really grow and support these industries and workers within them. And it feels like a really unique opportunity. And for us to like get it right. So I guess it's not really like a concern, but it is the thing that I'm thinking about the most is how do we get this right? How do we leverage all the brilliant people? I mean, there's 88 people on this webinar alone, and that doesn't scratch the surface of the folks interested in this work in the region. So how do we really leverage this opportunity and make sure it doesn't pass us by? That is my biggest concern at the moment.
Yeah, sure. I'll chime in. I'm really echoing Ty and Kate's the concern of trying to staff up the program with people who are familiar with the work and really can help us scale these projects that we've been doing in Philadelphia. Scale it in Philadelphia, but then really like take this show on the road. So. Planning is a large piece of what we've dedicated this first phase to, and we're excited to get started.
And I would just add, I'm already thinking about when the money runs out and when this is over. So my concern is how do we do this? To Kate's point, like we've got this opportunity to do this well. And like, how do we do this in a way that is sustainable and doesn't just, end in 3 years and then we move on to the next thing. We want to show that like, this is the way and we are able to serve folks in a way that makes people want to fund this long-term. All right, it looks like our questions have slowed down. So I'm going to pass it over to Ty to talk about how to get in contact with us, but just as a reminder, the questions don't end here. Please feel free to submit questions to the email that that Ty will put up, and we look forward to connecting with you all more in the future.
Next slide, David. Thank you. And if you need to, again, if you need to contact us for any reason, have any follow-up questions, please submit all questions and comments to the GoodjobschallengePHL@PhilaWorks.org email address, and we will appropriately respond to all questions. And lastly, again, on behalf of the Good Jobs Challenge team in Philadelphia, we thank you for your participation today, and we look forward to your thought partnership and collaboration throughout the next phases of our implementation process over the next year. So thank you again, and everyone have a wonderful day.